The next section talks about adultery. It's adultery in the heart. Verse 27. You have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and cast it from you. For it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell. If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and cast it from you. For it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell. So obviously, the focus here is more on adultery, but the idea of not sinning in your heart and in your mind is still there. It
Mhm.
still resonates with the verses that preceded it, in that if you just looking at a woman in a lustful way, you've already committed the sin.
Yeah.
And it's you being very, I'll use myself for example, being very transparent. There's been times where, and I remember explaining this to somebody asked me like, oh, they show me a picture, do you find this woman attractive? And I'm like, well, I guess if we're saying conventionally speaking and physically, yes, this is someone that I find attractive, but I know nothing about her. I know nothing about her. So, like, what substance outside of just the physical am I looking at? What am
Mhm.
I looking for? So I start praying to God and saying, fill my heart with the right intentions and a good spirit. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I'm not looking at a woman and thinking, oh, she's very attractive. That's a very attractive woman. 'Cause at the end of the day, the flesh is still weak. And I recognize that, like, the flesh is still weak. But I ask God, like, please allow me to go and not have a sinful heart or a lustful spirit, when I do go out and see women, because I will obviously work around the opposite sex daily,
Yeah.
so that is something that I do pray about, that. And
Hmm.
even learning this, I just recently learned this as of, I think, in the last few years, because this part was never really broken down in context for me. So I recently learned that. I said, wow, I thought only adultery was just physically doing something. I didn't know that it could start in the heart and in the mind. I thought it was physically, like, you physically do something, you've committed adultery. So,
Right.
that's just good to hear more context behind it.
Yeah, yeah. And you think, oh, okay, okay. I was gonna say because it says on my study notes that sin begins in the mind before it's committed outwardly. And
Mhm.
true righteousness, therefore, seeks to avoid not only adulterous acts, but also adulterous thoughts, right?
Mhm.
So it's giving like that much more context, right? And I'll speak practically, and I'll speak to the audience that are men. Is that and that how many times do you like with Mike's example, right? Oh, do you find this woman attractive or whatever, right? Or like or how many times do like dudes do you have a guys' night out, right? And then
Yeah.
you hear those kind of conversations where they're talking about women in a certain way, and it's around like a certain it's like the environment is just very like lustful, right, within like the
Hmm.
conversations, right? And so it's kind of like the door is already being crept open, right, where kind of
Hmm.
sin kind of just like leads through, right? And I can speak myself, right, because um and this is just one of those things that like when you're that I want like people that are not believers to understand that like that but for brother Mike, his biggest problem might not be the party, or for myself, the biggest problem might not be for the partying and the drinking and the
Hmm.
smoking, right? But it could be lust that's like my biggest struggle. For
Hmm.
someone else, it could be comfort, right?
Hmm.
You ever met someone that would try their absolute best? They idolize comfort so much that when it comes to conflict and all that stuff, they rather just avoid it
Yeah.
altogether, right?
Yeah.
They'll isolate themselves just as because that's the comfortable spot, right? Or or um or like gluttony, right? Like for like I really want people that aren't believers to understand that like some of the things that that you have to like pick up your cross from, right? Like it's that's gonna be your biggest default like sins that you struggle with, right? Like for me, especially like when I'm at the gym, right? And then there's obviously like women at the gym, right? And it's like it's not like let's be honest as men here, right? Like it's not
Mhm.
like it's like when we're at the gym, right? And they dress a certain way, right? Like me and brother David talk about it multiple times, right? Where I'm like, I stare at that TV so much, because I'm not
Yeah.
trying because
Yeah. Man, look.
I don't want no problems, okay?
Yes.
Like fun fact, me, brother David, and brother Mike, we all wear glasses, right? But these glasses come
Hey,
right off in the gym, okay? Because
man, man.
I'm
Oh
squinting,
God.
okay? Like like because you don't want to just essentially open those doors, okay? Because again, it begins in the mind before it's committed outwardly, right? Or especially when it's like, hey, homie, like that girl kind of looks fine. I'm gonna go try to talk to her. What's your desire when you're talking to her? You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Are you trying to? Is it God fearing? You want to get to know that person, knowing that it's gonna be as a friend first,
Mhm.
or are you looking at it in a lustful desire where it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm gonna try to let me see if I can get that, let me see if I can slide right through for the night type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like these are like practical things that happen to us as men on a day to day, right? But for a lot of guys out there, it's like normal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Bible
Reality,
talks
huh?
about this whole thing of false acceptance, right? That you will have that false acceptance of the world type of thing, right? And that's just the kind of like the natural thing where it's like, oh, everyone does it. Oh, then it
Mhm.
must be all right. But that's that's the problem.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Lord help me, please.
I
Just
wanna
help us.
yeah, he got the glasses thing for me though. Just I don't know. Like I
I did,
100%
sure did.
I go into places straight blind,
I
especially
said
at the gym, just just because it's to me it's bad now.
it's
It's
bad,
bad
so
now.
bad.
So and plus me not being able to see nothing but silhouettes around me while I focus and get my workout done, it helps me focus.
Right.
The
Yep.
gym, I do what I need to do and I get out.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to go back to 27 when it says you shall not commit adultery. Whenever I hear this being discussed or talked about, I just replace adultery with sexual immorality.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Because adultery, by definition, is somebody that's married, lusting and honing after somebody who it's not the woman person that they're married to, or is like single essentially. So
Mm.
um because the 28 through 30 is for us as well, people who are not married. So I
Hmm.
just put sexual immorality right there to get the whole thing covered. Like the
Mhm.
moment you lust, whether you're married or not, after somebody, you are already in sin.
Yeah.
Because you're going to hear this come up in later on in the Bible too, as well. But sexual immorality is one of those big things that all of us, to a degree, are dealing with. So that's whenever I come across this conversation or me being talked to, because I used to only take it as okay, adultery. I'm not married, so I can't commit adultery. But no, it's sexual morality. Like
Right.
you thought you was gonna get away with it by one
Uh,
way, but you're not. So just that's how I think about it when I started reading that stuff.
yeah, you really thought you ate that, huh? But you really did.
You're not. You
But
thought we were fine.
that's important too. That's important too, right? Because if they just so for someone might just see that verbatim and just be like, okay, then I'm good. But it's like, no. Like you have to look at it as it's kind of like you have to look at it as do not commit sexual immorality because now it changes it and it changes the entirety of what it's essentially telling you. to where now it's like how you said it, married or not, don't look at anyone, don't look at any woman with the lustful intent, with the lustful heart. So
Yeah,
I just love what you did. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
I love what you did.
Just a little more tidbit on that. Um, if you find somebody attractive, that's not sexual immorality.
Mm-hmm.
The moment that you could confess to yourself, like, oh, I'm trying to bag that, and it ain't
Yeah.
for the purposes of knowing that person, so y'all can proceed towards marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Anything outside of that goal, you might as well call it sexual immorality, which means
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
you have now put yourself in a sinful mindset
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to that opposite person. So just to put a clear understanding of what it is when you do that. So going to talk to somebody or finding somebody attractive, nothing wrong with that. We got eyes.
Mm-hmm.
God gave us eyes to see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We gonna use them.
Yeah.
But it's
How
like,
you use them is
Yeah.
important.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. They're very, very true. That in I you can look at any story, you can find several stories in the book and in the Bible. And I think intent is a word that you want to take. It's like what intent do you have
Mm-hmm.
with using your eyes, right? It mentions several times in us in that section, like sexual immorality. That is big. Sexual immorality. That's your intent, is to have a sexual immorality. But God knew what He was doing when He made man and woman.
Mm-hmm.
Like that intent for man to be attracted to woman, woman to be attracted to man. Like God knew what He was doing. But if you have the intent of, as David mentioned, like, dang man, hey, she looked good. Like I think I'm a I think I'm gonna try to, if that's your heart's intent, then you've already committed adultery. You've already committed sin. In the eyes of God, you've already committed sin. You have. And one thing before we move on, I want to sort of pose a question or ask the group, because I know again, like hyperbole can be used, parables can be used when it talks about plucking out your eye, cutting off your hand. For someone who is reading that and may not have the fullest understanding of the type of words that are used in the book, could you guys say, is that taken literal?
I mean, if you read, if because you broke it down and you actually read it slow, and if people read that and it says it is more profitable,
Mm-hmm.
can switch profitable out with rather preferable. It is preferable, meaning that it is a simile, a
Mm-hmm.
metaphor.
Yeah.
It replaces the physical act with you should turn away from doing said act that it's talking about. So it's not saying
Mm-hmm.
literally pluck your eye out.
Right.
It would be better for you too
Mm-hmm.
than to face the consequences that's going to happen later on. Because you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to probably see them directly now, but the consequences later, which is during judgment.
Mm-hmm.
So if everything is it's in the text, if you just pay attention and heck, break a dictionary out with you if you need to. Read
Mm-hmm.
through it while, and if it's a word or if it seems like it's something that sounds literal,
Mm-hmm.
change your literal mind to similes and metaphors, and then reread it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that way you can keep yourself in the safe, habitable zone as you digest this information.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Great point. Great point.
Um,
Gotcha.
yeah, I'll take a stab at your question. I think right because it's not like because we know it's not literally saying like to do those things, right? Cover your hand, everybody. Like it's not saying that literally because we know when it's all said and done, where does sin? I would say with the question, where does sin arise from? Like it arises internally, right? It arises from the heart. right? Like, because as born sinners, you have a sinful desire, right? No one taught you how to steal. No one taught you how to scream at your parents when you were a kid, right? You just did those things, you know. Um, what's this essentially? I when I read this part, I see it as like, well, where what are the root causes, right? In this end, when we're talking about lustful, right? I heard a podcast say how like it refers to like you like a craved intimacy, right? You have a craved intimacy for God, but it's like twisted and distorted because of sin, and so it's important for us to find the root of the cause of where the lustfulness comes from, right? Maybe you got it because you crave intimacy for God, right? Maybe you got it because of the people that are around you or the things that you listen to that kind of hyped up these physicality aspects, right? It's like, oh wow, like maybe because I know when we were teenage boys, right? When it's like when you hear like the rap music, when you watch the rap music videos, you see all these things, right? When you watch the certain reality shows, right, that kind of like glamorize these certain aspects, and it's like, oh wow. So I definitely say it's what's the root behind these things, right? Like you're angry, but what's the root behind your anger, right? Is it really angry, or is it like, are you really jealous but you can't express that, you don't know how to express that, and you kind of just throw on the anger label behind that, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So I always look at it as like, what's the root cause behind the things, right? And just really just having take an inventory check, like a heart posture check on yourself, and find these root causes, and just solve them. Go with God to solve them, because we all have a something, right? Our pastor says it multiple times. We all have a something. Okay, how holy you are, I don't care. Doesn't matter. We all have a something that we actively like wrestle and struggle with, right? And so it's like, what are the root causes of those things, right? That expose us to even have these certain desires that were in our hearts. And it could be stuff from a long time ago, right? And it could be stuff that was, and that's why generational curses are a thing, right? Because it's not like, okay, it wasn't just a you problem. It could be something that your parents struggle with. And it wasn't even something that they struggle with. It was something that their parents struggle with. Now you're looking at 3, 4, 5 generations of a struggle, of a struggle that's been so deep embedded. But as believers, we made that call to break that curse by the grace of God, and just be like, I don't want that anymore. And look, I'm not no holier than thou person, okay? Because I heard a TikToker. His name is Elijah, and I can't remember his last name. But he said a quote where it was like, sin is fun until you try to not do it anymore. And then it's like, and then it's like, dude, like, now it feels like it's like a struggle, right? It's a battle, right? Because it's not fun
Hmm.
anymore, right? Like now it's like, oh wow, I just like you, and like I said in our last conversation, like we know better, right? It's like we know better, but God, I keep falling down. You know what I'm saying? But I want to get back up for you, because it's in your word that the righteous man fall short 7 times, but he gonna get back up 7 more times, right? Because you definitely don't want to be stuck in a cycle, because now the enemy got you where he wants you to be, to where now you're at a point where it's like, oh, I give up. That was okay. That was kind of a long spiel, but the point is that what's the root cause behind these desires that you have in your heart?